so much, everyone, for making season 2 happen and having me learn so much more about animals, because I thought I knew about chickens. I do not know about chickens. So let me tell you more about them. Chickens are super, super interesting. I'm going to say that a whole lot because there are so many different types of chickens on the planet. So right now, there are 360 different types of dog breeds, but in fancy chickens alone, just in the UK, there's 500 different types of chickens, just fancy ones. So what does that mean? So there's a bunch of different types of chickens. If you are a chicken, you're under this umbrella, which I'll explain what that means. But there are kind of just like regular chickens that we all kind of think about. And then there's fancy chickens. And the fancy chickens are specifically bred to look fancy. So they have like really funny hair, or they have 5 toes instead of 4 toes, or they're just neat looking. And so I think that's super interesting. We also don't know how many different breeds of chickens exist, because there's so many all around the world, and each country kind of has like their own special chicken and other fancy ones, which is pretty neat to think about. So the chicken is a domestic species of bird that was actually from one type of bird in the whole world. It's called the Red Jungle Fowl, and that bird still exists, but way back in the 5th century. So we're in the 21st century. So in the 5th century, a long time ago, people saw these little handsome red jungle fowl, and they were like, hey, I want that bird to hang out with me because it's fancy. And so through this whole time, through centuries, hundreds of years, people have bred from a red jungle fowl all the way to all the different little friends we have. They're actually from Asia originally, but then, like I said before, each country kind of has their own chicken, different types of chickens as well. And so it's pretty neat, because if you look at the evolution of chickens, they start in Asia, and then they go all the way to, like, they go through Greece and Egypt and Syria, and then they kind of go everywhere, because everyone wants to have chickens around because they're super neat. Now, we had a lot of questions about what makes a chicken a chicken. Can they fly? What do they do? Because there are so many types of chickens, it's hard to say exactly, sort of like we talked about migratory birds. There's a lot of information about them. But the things that we know about chickens, they're all from these what am I saying? Jungle fowl, not guinea fowl, those are different. They're all from jungle fowl, but chickens also are specifically on the ground, kind of walking around, scurrying birds. They can fly, they don't migrate, and they don't fly very far. So they're not completely flightless. They're not like an ostrich or a penguin. They can fly, and they can fly so they can get up to their roosts or up in a tree or over a fence. So they can like use their wings and they can propel themselves, but they're not like going down the road to hang out with their friends. They're going up a tree to hang out with their friends. The longest flight in history of a chicken was 13 seconds, and it went 300 feet. And so that's kind of cool to think about, that like a bird that like doesn't really do a lot of flying, 13 seconds, I can't fly that much. Now, chickens are also omnivores. And so that means that they eat lots of different things. Chickens spend most of their time on the ground, scratching around, using their beaks to look at things, using their feet to scratch things up. And they eat lots of different things, between seeds and grasses, greens. They'll also eat little slugs. They're really good to have like around a garden, because they'll eat slugs and crickets and little insects and things like that. Now, some people wanted to know if birds and chickens could eat bread. Now, the answer is yes, they can eat bread, but it's not super good for them. even though they did co-evolve with us, there's been a lot of times that chickens and people have been living in the same place, and they do love bread. It's a little bit of an empty filler. They're not really supposed to have it, so there's no real nutritional value for them. And this is the same with ducks, for any wild birds. So if you're meeting a chicken for the first time and you want to bring like a present, or if there is like a duck pond close to you, or if there's animals that you do want to feed, birds you want to feed, bread is not the great thing. They're going to eat it. They're not going to get a lot of nutrition out of it. So if you do need a chicken, they love sunflower seeds, and they also love leafy greens. So if you had some lettuce or spinach or things like that, and you gave that, if you sprinkle it around for the chickens, they would do a little happy dance for that. Now, we're going to get back to the happy dance because they also have a happy song that goes along with it. Now, I did want to look at the biggest and smallest chicken, and it's pretty neat because the smallest chicken in the whole world is the Malaysian Surama Bantam chicken. They're little. It weighs less than 500 grams. They are 15 centimeters, which is about 5 inches, and they fit in your hand. And if you Google this, like, it's just a chicken, but just like you photoshopped it real little, so small. And so they're very handsome. They're so small. Now the biggest chicken is the Jersey Giant chicken. What a name! Of course it's big, right? And when I read about them, the article said that they're typically mellow chickens. They're like gentle giants, but they can weigh 13 pounds, which is 5.8 kilograms. So you go, like, they're still chickens. They're little tiny chickens. And then there are, like, a 15 centimeter chicken is half the size of a ruler. So you can get a little tiny chicken, or you get like this big, very huggable, the size of a penguin chicken. Now there are 25 billion chickens in the whole world, which means that there's more chickens than any other bird species. They are definitely not endangered. We don't have to worry about them becoming endangered because they are everywhere. Humans really, really like chickens around. Now I said they do a happy dance for lettuce. They do happy dances, but they also have a lot, chickens have tons of language. They love talking to each other, and everything is means something a little bit different for them. So rooster, if he finds food when he's going around, he'll go tuk, 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 and he will do what's called tidbitting. And so he will pick up food and drop it, and pick up food and drop it, and look over at the hens, the lady chickens, and go, hey, look what I found. Look, here's the cool thing. I helped you find food. And so if the hens already know it's there, they'll just kind of ignore him and say, yeah, no, we also saw it. But it's pretty cute because that's one of the first things that we sort of notice about chickens. They do like to hang out together. They do help each other find food, and they don't hoard food at all. When there's food around, they say, hey, there's some over here. We should all have it. It's delicious. Some scientists think, let me back up. So a rooster, so a lot of chickens look a little different. On the top, I'll crouch down. On the top, they have what's called a comb, and roosters will have a really big comb, and they'll have on the bottom, it's called a wattle. And these are just like little skin bits that just, make chickens and roosters themselves. And so, but scientists think that roosters have really big wattles. So when they're tidbitting for the hens in the group, the hens can really see that there's food. They can, like, if there's tall grasses or things like that, they can look up and go, huh, that rooster showing us where some food is. Delicious. Also with the combs on their heads, so they can look around and see where the rooster is. And if he's eating something, then excellent. We can know where they are. Now, chickens have more than 30 different vocalizations. Like I said, they have language, and each vocalization is a bit different. So when they go tuk tuk tuk, it means there's food around, and we're searching and we're trying to find food. But they also have squawks when there is danger. They coo to each other. Mom chickens will really quietly cluck to their eggs. So she's talking to the little babies that are in the eggs and saying, like, everything's going to be okay. I'm your mom. I'm going to take care of you. Now, they have really unique calls when they're talking to their babies, when they're talking about food, but then when they're also talking about danger. And I think what is super interesting about all of that is they can also talk if there is danger from above or if there's danger on the ground. It's completely different language that they use. And so if they're saying there's danger, if they use the cluck that says there's danger from above, they'll all look up and they'll scurry under a tree or somewhere. But if there is danger from below, they'll all go up into a tree. What's also really interesting is we scientists have seen this in birds around the world. And around the world, animals that live around these birds in different jungles also hear these distress calls and these danger calls, and they can react to it. So monkeys in the neotropics, in North American tropics, hear different birds give danger calls between snakes and jaguars and eagles. And the monkeys know the difference between all these calls. And so they react differently and they hide in different places. And I think that's super neat. So like the language that they're using is for each other, but other animals can also save themselves, which is neat. Chickens live in big groups. They love hanging out with each other. They love being in a community, and they can tell the difference between 500, or nope, that's not right, 100 different faces. And they don't have to be all chicken faces. They also know different animals. And so they can see all their different friends that are chicken friends, know exactly who is nice to them, who's not so nice, who shows where the good food is. But then they can also tell the difference between human faces. So if you're meeting a chicken, if you go to like a farm sanctuary and meet some chickens there and you give them some like sunflower seeds or some lettuce, they'll remember you being the nice one. And you can have a chicken friend for life, which is quite nice. That goes into how smart chickens are. So when I was reading up on how smart chickens are, knowing they have communication, they learn, how to talk to each other, how to forage, things like that. A lot of studies have said that chickens are as smart as a human toddler. So they have like really, really complex ideas of what the world looks like and object permanence. And so if you go up to a chicken and you say like, hey, I have some seeds for you, and you put it behind your back, the chicken will say, no, the seeds didn't disappear. The seeds are behind your back. Give me some seeds, which is quite nice. Chickens also experience REM sleep, rapid eye movement. And so some scientists think that that means chickens dream, which is also really, really nice. Chickens like to sunbathe because chickens just like to have fun. Sunbathing is really nice to be warm and cozy, but they also take dirt baths. And so dirt baths, you probably have seen other birds do this. It's really important because they can't shower. They can't get everything off their feathers. And so the dirt bath soaks up oils, and then the dirt comes off when they preen. But it also makes sure that all the parasites get out of their feathers and off of their skin and things like that. So dirt bath, sun bath, all kinds of different bathing. They love it. They don't really love swimming, so they gotta stick with the older one. People also ask about eggs and how do eggs work? And that is super neat with chickens, because chickens, hens, female chickens, will lay one egg a day. So does that mean they can like make one egg in their body every single day? Kind of. It's kind of like a conveyor belt. What happens is in the hen's body, she creates a small egg, and that takes about like 30 minutes. She's like living her life, doing other things. Oh, can I speak closer to the microphone? I can speak louder if that will work. Awesome. Yeah, so with eggs, so the hen, the mom egg, will have just an ovum, just like a yolk in her body. And then after 3 hours, around the yolk, an egg white will develop. And then after an hour after that, a small membrane will develop. And then I have to look at my notes because I do not remember all of this. And then 2 hours after that, the shell hardens. So this in her body is happening at a couple different times. An egg will come through her system, and that will be creating a small shell. And then the next egg, well, that has a small shell. The next egg is getting hard and ready to be laid. And so all through her body, her body is making lots of different eggs. Now, this means it's really important if you have any chickens, if you know chickens, they really need to get calcium because they're making tons of eggs all the time. Out here on Vancouver Island, when people have backyard chickens and things like that, they will feed them lots of seeds that have calcium in them, and they'll also feed them oyster shells to make sure that they're getting enough calcium, because it's not something that like mom chickens can turn on and off. They're just going to make eggs all the time, and we want to make sure that the chickens are healthy. Now, when the mom chicken lays the eggs, she lays one a day, and then all the chicken eggs will hatch around the same time. So they all kind of wait for each other to hatch and be brothers and sisters. Takes about 21 days for a baby chicken to hatch from an egg, and it's actually like very cute when it happens because the mom chicken, the hen, will pip and talk to her little baby chicks. And then when she hears them chirp back, then it's kind of like she knows it's time. And so she makes sure that they're very warm. She'll sit on them, but then put her arms out to make sure everyone's warm and cozy and okay. And the baby chicks, what they do is they break out of the eggs themselves, which is pretty neat. They're fully formed chickens. And so they peck out a hole in the egg. It takes sometimes, it can take a day for, a little baby to get out of an egg. They take lots of breaks, lots of rests. And then when they get all the way around the egg, they normally like pop up and they have like a little hat, which you might have seen pictures on the internet of chickens in their little eggshell hats. And that's just them getting out of their eggs. After they crawl out of the rest of the shell, they dry out, and then they're chickens living their life, which is very, very cute. Like I said, chickens love living in community. They love having friends. Knowing that they can see or understand and remember at least 100 different faces means that they like to be in flocks. They like showing each other, like, these are my babies and these are my friends. So if you do have chickens, they would like to be friends with other chickens and other animals. They do cooperate with each other, but the term pecking order is actually from chickens, because what they do, they have 30 different words that they say to each other, but in order for them to really communicate who's the boss, who gets to get these delicious treats first, who gets to roost first, they will peck at each other. Most of the time it's not bullying and they're not mean. This is just how they communicate. But they do let each other know, not your time to eat yet, you have to wait. And the one being pecked goes, okay, fair enough, I will wait. But they do, it's sort of like a sibling rivalry. They just let each other know who is boss. Someone asked how fast chickens are. They can run. They're not long distance runners. They are sprinters. So they don't run very far, but they can run 9 miles or 14 kilometers an hour, which is pretty good. They are specifically designed to get away from predators, and so they can run really fast and like jump into a tree, or they can like jump into their hutch if they need to. Another super interesting fact before I get to pictures is chickens. So humans see the world with 3 different colors. Everything you see is 3 different colors all mooshed together. Now, chickens, like many other birds, can see infrared or ultraviolet lights. And so they see a little bit more color. And so that is why roosters crow early in the morning, because even before we can see the sun coming up and we can see light, the ultraviolet light from the sun is already in the sky. And so it already is morning for roosters. So it seems like it's just the crack of dawn, but dawn has been cracking for a while. Pun intended. So the roosters know that it's very much time to wake up, time for everyone to wake up. We got to find some food. There are insects and seeds and lettuce to eat. So let's look at some pictures of chickens. So here is a bunch of different chickens and a rooster. This is a rooster at the forefront of this picture, and he is very much calling. But so you can see he has a comb at the top. You can see he has a wattle. And you can see these other chickens here who are hens also have they have combs and they have wattles. But you can see his face is a lot more red. He has like a lot more to him. And you can also see that his butt has real long feathers. And those long feathers will let you know he is a rooster and they are hens. Now here is another very handsome rooster that also shows like it's such a lovely comb that he has. It goes all the way from his beak all the way to the back. You can see lots of like a little bit of a crest, which is just like the top feathers on his head. But like what a waddle. Like when he is showing off to his friends and he's going troop, 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 and he's tidbitting, showing that there's food around, you could really tell that there's going to be food. He is showing off to the ladies. Here is a baby chicken. When chickens are first born, most of the time we actually don't know if they're boys or girls because they all kind of look the same. Cute, to be sure, but they're just very fluffy. And so we don't know until their butt grows into a big tail and until they get like a bigger comb and get more of a crest and comb and wattle. We're just not sure, but they are very handsome. Here are 2 different roosters. They are both fancy roosters. Like I said before, fancy chickens are a breed of their own, many different breeds of their own. But you can see that the one, so there's one that has a huge wattle, like look at that guy, and he has a big old comb. But then the other one, you can't really see his wattle, but you can see he has all kinds of crest. He has like a really like floppy hipster haircut. Looking handsome, and you can tell that they are roosters because they are, but you can tell their butt feathers are very much big, floofy rooster tails. And so even if the face doesn't exactly look like an atypical or doesn't look like a rooster, you can tell from the rest of the fellow, he is a fellow. Now here's the last picture because how could I not show you another fancy chicken? This is one of the fanciest chickens called a poofy head. It's not called that, but you should call it that because look at its head. Like I said, humans have been breeding chickens since, well, for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And so there's all of the different types of chickens that are specifically bred to look cute and to look different. And so this chicken is just here to look very handsome with, instead of just having like a comb or like a little crest, their whole head is a big old wig. If you wanted to go on like a deeper dive of fancy chickens, I would recommend doing a Google search of like pictures of fancy chickens because they are beautiful and very funny. So oh my gosh, that is an amazing chicken picture. Did you draw that yourself? Like a little chick. Awesome. I think that looks great. So who has some questions?
So I have 2 questions from the chat, Nora.
Yeah.
First question is, did people always eat eggs from chickens? And this, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so they didn't always eat eggs from chickens. So we don't really know when people started eating eggs. But a lot of historians and archaeologists think what happened was people saw animals like foxes or lizards eat eggs, and people said, wow, if they can eat those, maybe we should too. So it wasn't specifically eggs always from chickens, it was eggs from different birds and different animals. And then later on, when having all of these chickens as pets, they were like, huh, I wonder if we can eat these eggs. And turns out, yes, many people do.
You know that little chicken you were telling us about that fits in your hand? How big are those eggs? Are they like jelly bean size?
Yeah, they would be smaller than like a quail egg, which is pretty small. So their eggs are about the size of my thumb. So yeah, kind of like a jelly bean. Yeah, just little adorable little friends.
But they're not jelly bean colored.
No, they're not jelly bean colored.
Okay.
And then what is the second question I can see, were they pets? Yeah, people really liked having chickens around, and people still like having chickens around. Like I said, chickens are social creatures. They love living with other animals. They are really nice. They are affectionate to each other, as you can tell from like the mom clucking to babies. They often snuggle in at night so they can all be warm in their roosts. So people really liked having chickens around because they were and still are very nice to each other. There was an expression in ancient Greece that was all about how, like, if your mom was a hen, then she was like a very good mom. She was like affectionate and stood up for you and was awesome. And so people always kind of looked at chickens and said, like, they're great. We should have them around.
Okay, Nora, we've got 2 questions. I'm going to unmute Sanjina first.
Why do chickens have feathers?
That's a good question. So chickens have feathers for 2 reasons. One, it does keep them warm. That's why their feathers are so poofy, and that's why dust baths are so important, because they don't want the feathers to get like greasy or oily. But the reason that chickens have such like glamorous and like colorful, amazing feathers is to show off to each other. The reason that that roosters have such big tails is that they can like show off to lady chickens and say, hey, look how cool this looks. Don't I look awesome? And lady chickens do the same thing. When they have like big crowns and they're very poofy and fancy, they can show off to other chickens and say, look at these feathers. I grew them myself. Now, chickens in the wild, like the jungle fowl, still are fancy. They still have like very lovely feathers, but they're mostly brown and black because they do live in the jungle. So some of it is camouflage. So it's a mixture of camouflage, mixture of staying warm, and then like a tad of showing off to their friends how cool they are.
That's awesome. I think
Thank
Kathy.
Thank you.
Of course.
Kathy, do you have a question? Yeah.
Well, why are chickens fast?
Why are chickens fast?
One's so fast and one like they're mad all over the place like that, like they're mad when they're all over the place.
Well, no, that's a really good question, and good follow-up, because they do run fast and they do kind of run like they're mad, and that is because that is how they get away. So if you are a chicken and there is a fox around, you're not going to really be able to like fight the fox. You're not going to be able to like do a lot, but you can run super fast away from it and run up a tree where it can't get to you. So it's all about staying alive. And so they can be fast and they can run away from things. They can also run very fast to things they like. So if you had sunflower seeds or like chicken cookies, then they could be like, whoa, I love those things. And they would come out so they could get the cookies.
That's awesome. We've got time for one more question. Let's go to Laura.
Why do chickens run mad?
Why do
Why do chickens run mad?
I think she just answered that one.
What is chickens? Yeah, so chickens run mad, you know, because they're excited and they want to like see each other and get cookies. And they also don't want to get eaten, and they don't want to have predators catch them. And so they, you know, they go fast and they run in different directions. If you've ever tried to like catch a chicken, or if you have seen anyone try to catch a chicken, it's very difficult because they walk away and then they scoot very fast and then, no, I'm going over here. You know, just like any animal, they don't want to get caught. They want to do their own thing. And so that is how they keep themselves safe. Run. A chicken cookie is like anything that a chicken would like, but you could give them like sunflower seeds. Like when I say cookie, I just mean treat. But you can also, like, chickens really like porridge. And so I've seen people make like little, like literally oatmeal cookies and give them to chickens as a little tasty treat.